This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back to Part of Us, an En Vogue Fancast. Before we begin, follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at En Vogue Craze, and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast and at En Vogue Craze. Stream Part of Us on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you listen to your podcasts. If you have ideas, interview requests, comments, or questions, email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. Like what you hear? Leave us a rating and a review and let us know. This episode is our season 1 wrap up, a look back at the season and looking to the future, and a surprise. We got a surprise for our listeners too. But before we do all of that, we need to talk about what's trending.
Yes, well, first, we missed you so much on our retrospective of the Funky Divas album, Josh. So we just wanted to know your thoughts on Funky Divas. Just, any quick thoughts you have about Funky Divas.
Oh my gosh. Like classic, like the album, like the pinnacle. I feel like Funky Divas is like the thing that people think about when they think about En Vogue. So like, I really can't, like, I could dissect it and splice and dice it, but like the thing that that resonates the most is that it's the classic. That is the classic. The album cover, the songs, it is the moment. And it's still the moment. It's still that girl. Still that girl.
It is. It's their piece de resistance, and the expanded and remastered edition comes out March 25th. So if you have a little extra money, inflation hasn't got you all the way down, just, download the digital release. But there is something else that is new. It's been out for a couple of weeks now. It's already at 2 million views on YouTube. The Bring Back the Time New Kids on the Block single that, of course, features En Vogue, as well as Salt and Pepper and Rick Astley. Have we all watched the video?
Yes.
Yes.
What did we think of it?
It's so cute. It's adorable.
It was a very cute video. I love videos where the artist just is goofy and playful and they play around with different looks and it's comedic. I think the song itself is like super fun. It's very trendy it's like a trendy bubblegum pop fun song. I just was a little bit disappointed that En Vogue was only given ad-libs on the song. I was expecting for them to get like a bridge or like a verse themselves, because obviously it's so many people on the song itself, but I just was a little bit disappointed. However, the song is fun. I like the song. The video was great. En Vogue looked freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. My favorite look was the cheerleaders. I just thought it was so cute. Terry with her pigtails. It was just so cute. Even watching the behind the scenes what was the reference of them in the black dresses with the instrumental? What video was that again? I forgot.
Addicted to Love.
Yeah, so even like the behind the scenes video of them spaced out so they can make room for Rick Astley's green screen body. Just watching them just kind of like just rock back and forth. I was like, look at my girls just being so freaking statuesque and dope. Like, I was excited for them. I love it. It's a good look for them for sure.
I thought it was so cute. I thought it was like an adorable moment for them. I agree. I was about a minute and a half in and I was like, so when are they coming? And then when they popped up, I thought even the song is not necessarily my cup of tea. Like, I don't think I want to listen to it like without watching the video. Like, the video is what kind of brings it home for me. But I thought it was a good moment. And yes, for all them views, we love eyeballs on our ladies.
That's right.
Period.
I think I was just more interested in kind of knowing the business of New Kids on the Block. It seemed like they had a little budget. They could afford to bring in some people, some looks. So, I mean, hopefully, the ladies of EV there, taking some notes and getting some ideas and some And, just figuring out how the business. No, but I mean, because they're not signed to a major label, right? New Kids on the Block isn't signed to a major label, but they're still able to like perform and show up in a high level. So, hopefully they've been able to share some best practices.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what we talked about when the song premiered, and we were kind of wondering if there was going to be a video, what the promo was for. And I was just thinking, like, New Kids on the Block, like, they really turned it around because of everyone on the tour. I think, like, the group or the act that had the most recent big hit, even though it's like years ago, was En Vogue. Like, Don't Let Go was huge. Like, Salt and Pepper was very necessary, but I remember they came out with that song, was it Are You Ready? Or something like that, and that didn't really do well. Rick Astley, I know he was very popular, maybe late 80s, early 90s, and then New Kids, like, they had, I think it was like Dirty Dog or something was the name of the song, and it was just like a huge flop, and they never really regained that. I know Donnie and Joey went solo. And like we talked about, we like Give It To You by Jordan Knight. That was a good song, but it was just like Jordan was on Surreal Life. And
they had a very short run for sure.
Yeah, but like then all of a sudden, somehow, some way, I don't know if it's good management, a good team, if it's Donnie being on Blue Bloods, I don't know if it's Mark Wahlberg, his brother, but like they really turned it around, and I would love that for En Vogue, just more prestige, more quality, not having to take every gig that comes along, just looking the part of a star. And so I did enjoy I agree with what everyone said about the video. For me, it's definitely visual. And it's just, I like seeing the ladies look good, and they looked good in the video. They looked really good. And I liked the uniforms. I like when everyone is dressed differently, but there is something about when a group, everyone has on the exact same thing and it's styled like the same way, and like the makeup is the same. So that like cheerleaders, like, when are you going to see En Vogue as cheerleaders? So it is a little bit, for me, that's on my, like towards the corny end of the spectrum. But like sometimes, like I can do a little corny. So it was cute. I enjoyed myself.
It's a catchy song.
It is. Who was it that somebody said it sounded like The Weeknd? And I think I kind of agree. Like, it kind of sounds like a Weeknd track.
I said that.
Yeah.
Was there a particular 80s visual y'all wanted to see En Vogue recreate? Because I would love to see them do like a little take on like Madonna Material Girl with like the pink. I think that would be kind of cute.
Nice.
That would have been really cute. I wouldn't mind seeing the Madonna Vogue as well. Is that the 80s?
That was 1990.
Yeah.
And Salt and Pepper, that's what Salt and Pepper was supposed to be, right? That was supposed to be Vogue.
It could have been cute if they did Salt and Pepper.
Yes, to kind of see their hairstyles and the gold hoops and the chains with the bomber jackets. That would have been really cute, because we don't really see En Vogue sporty or casual like that. Usually we see them like glamorous, so that would have been like a cool, fun to see them like in some like Converse, that would have been fun to see for sure.
I saw a comment, someone was saying that, well, I did hear someone did say they should have done Madonna's Vogue, because I guess, En Vogue, and someone else said they should have like recreated Whitney's looks from I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
And so I I love the cheerleader look, but Tony Basil, I don't know. Like, I think just because of the way it went down, like they're singing like all of the background and the ad-libs, and everyone else got longer parts. Like, they should have at least got 3 looks, because one, they're behind Joey McIntyre, and then the other behind their cheerleader. So at least give them, another reference, because New Kids on the Block, I know it's their song, but they were like Duran Duran and Journey and Twisted Sister, and then they did Beat It, and then like, so come on, you spread it around a little bit.
Okay, so we have facts that Max is back putting tracks on wax. Oh, that was a rhyme.
I wrote that specifically for you.
Matthew.
I wrote that, and I highlighted it in blue just for you.
I love it.
You read it.
We have Max putting tracks on wax. Period. Okay.
That is hilarious.
End of episode. That's it.
So, last week, Miss Jones reposted a snap of herself in the recording booth. originally shared by her business partner, Brian Martin. So are you guys as excited as I am? What are your expectations of Max's solo project?
I'm more excited than you.
No, I was going to say the little EP that was, I guess, illegally put out that she was like, don't listen to. I thought it was cute. So I thought she sounded good with St. James or whatever. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what she does. I hope it's at a nice quality, a nice, R&B type of vibe to complement her voice.
Well, I'm excited as well. I love Maxine. I love her voice. I love her style. And I think that it is a good time for her to set herself apart from the indie brand and like really show us the kind of artist that she is, show us like what she has to say as a woman, as an artist. I feel like she has a cool point of view. So I'm excited to hear what she's going to put out. I've enjoyed the stuff that she has done collaborating with other artists. That Christmas song, I thought it was really cute. The EP with St. James, I thought that was cute. I like about maybe I think it was 4 songs. I like 3 of them, that I actually replay. It was good, so I'm excited for her to see what she puts out. Come through, Max. Put that track on wax.
Even though I think she needs to do house music, and I sent her a message saying that.
That is a good idea.
She needs to do the house, like the very CeCe Peniston. She needs to give us that Martha Wash. And I also think dance. I think that's an easier market to kind of break into because, I mean, even adult R&B is getting younger and younger. Like if you really look at like the adult R&B charts, you've got a lot of younger artists there where maybe 10 years ago it was more of kind of the older neo soul artists, but now you have people like Summer Walker and Ari Lennox who are like topping the adult R&B charts. So I just think that it's you need a certain amount of backing, and as an independent artist, I'm like, just go ahead and put out that dance song and let the gays and the girls live for it.
Well, real talk though, like I feel like there's no more loyal fan base than like house music folks, like because it's not really about the visual. It's not really about all the other politic of music. They just want to dance and they just want a strong vocal to go with it. And so, like, what's the song? CeCe Peniston did that song with Steve Silk Hurley.
Yes.
He loves me
he
too.
Loves me too. Yeah.
Like that is such it's like 8 minutes. It's amazing, and I feel like you could see that kind of.
It came out in like the early 2000s.
Yep. And the gays eat it up. All the drag queens love that song.
Yeah,
so.
Especially when it's like dance music. There are so many DJs who, if it's a good song, there are so many DJs who will remix that song and put their own spin on it. So now you have so many different types of audiences listening to your song. They want to find it. I mean, there's so many raves that happen. Girl, you better get you a song so the club kids can be high on Percocet and dancing all night to your music.
No, but listen, that song came out. I just looked. It came out in 1999. It's over 20 years old, and it's still going viral. And it wasn't even a big hit. You know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't like a huge like Billboard hit or anything. And it started going viral a couple of years ago when the drag queen from the Continental pageant did it. And she was like bouncing her breasts up and down. Did y'all see that?
Yeah.
I forget her name, and I feel bad because she's
Giselle.
Yes, Giselle Bobby Royale, I believe. Yeah, and so it started taking a whole other life. So you don't have to, hit the Billboard charts to rule the dance charts.
Well, I hope that's what it's giving. Either way, I feel like it's all good, right? If we love when they're booked, and busy,
right?
All right, friends. So on to today's discussion. This is our last episode for the season. But don't fret.
Have we been canceled?
Returning. According to some of them comments, apparently we have. But don't fret. We will return in May with brand new episodes for season 2.
We ain't going nowhere.
So I have a question for the room. So since it's our final episode, we've talked about so much on this show. What made you all want to be a part of the podcast? I'll start with you, Matan.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't want to do it, but I saw that Matt wanted 4 people, and I was like, wait, you really can do it with 3, but I'm an En Vogue fan. Like, you know my story. Like, I was passing out the flyers for EV when they did Soulflower and all that stuff. So, like, I just have to come through as a fan every now and then. And that's really why I did not expect it to like it this much. Like, I didn't expect to, like, love you guys as much as I do and just sit and chat with you guys.
No.
I'm being serious. Now I really enjoy, like, getting, just to sit and talk with you guys. It's so much fun for me. And I think it's fun for all of us. That's why our episodes can be over 2 hours easily, because we love talking about music. I mean, and outside of En Vogue, I feel like we have similar tastes to a certain degree and similar life experiences probably. So that's why I'll be on season 2. Season 1, though, like, it was just like, okay, you need 4 people, I'll be the 4th. And that's what it was.
What about you, JP?
Some of my friends have been telling me for like the last couple of years, I have a lot of opinions and I need a podcast. And so I was like, well, I don't know how to start a podcast. I don't know, like, whatever. So when I saw this opportunity, I thought, well, this will be a good time to kind of, get my feet wet. I love En Vogue. I've loved them for a long time, and I love music in general. So I thought, we'll see how it goes.
I love girl groups, and I love talking about girl groups, and more than that, I love En Vogue, but I've never had like people to talk about it with.
Yes.
Like, I've always loved it like on my own, in my own little corner, in my own little chair. But like, I have never had like a crew to like talk about the things I know I'm thinking that other people see, other than like on the internet, right? Like, you see that in the group, for instance, and like in comments, you'll see people affirm your like what you thought you saw or what you heard or whatever. And so it's nice to be in like community with a couple of other folks who like get it and want to talk about it just as much as I do, because everybody else be rolling their eyes. People just like,
or they're like, well, they had some cute songs, but they're not like the big fans where they know the albums and they're still following.
Well, it's like, who else am I gonna talk about the B-sides with?
Right.
You know what I mean?
most of my friends don't know anything from En Vogue since Don't Let Go. Like,
wow.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the truth, though. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I feel like every time En Vogue has ever come up in a conversation with some friends of mine, I've always been the captain of the ship, because no one is as passionate about En Vogue as I am in those spaces. So I was like, wow, a podcast just about En Vogue? Let me see. But it is just amazing how we have managed to talk about En Vogue for 10 episodes, and there's going to be a season 2, because there's still so much more to talk about when you have super fans like us, and of course super fans who listen, thankfully, that want to hear us talk about what we talk about. And yes, it's always cool to just be around, super fans. I feel like everybody feels like they have like a quirky, weird obsession with something, but then when you like talk to other people, you're like, oh no, it's not that quirky, because there are other people who feel the same way I do, and now we can create a community of quirkiness, so that's why I wanted to be a part of the podcast. I love that I came. I do enjoy every time that we get to record and talk about it.
Yes. So did you guys have any expectations when you first joined?
I truly did not expect that anyone would, want to listen to something that can be as long as it can be, because we really go deep into depth. So whenever, we get like having listener letters, like who actually listened and, want to comment, like I did not expect that. My expectation was just going to be, this might go for a couple of, episodes, then, somebody's going to get bored and that'll be that. But I did not think it would, we'd be having a second season. I feel like, somebody whose show got picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only expectation was hoping that we all had good camaraderie.
Oh, that is true.
Because it's nothing worse than like watching a panel with like hosts and there's no chemistry. They don't vibe well. And then sometimes they just don't enjoy being there with each other. So my hope was that I hope we all get along. I hope that we all, build a rapport, because that translates into the podcast. Viewers can feel like, oh my God, it's like I'm talking to my friend. So that was one of my expectations, and it was fulfilled.
Destiny fulfilled.
Same. Y'all said it all. I feel like I really was like, first of all, ain't nobody about to listen to us talk for 2 hours. But yeah, folks keep doing it. Like, and that, I mean, I can see the numbers just off of YouTube, and that's like plenty. And then you think about all the other platforms that folks might be listening on. And I was like, okay, there's folks who like want to talk about these things too, which was nice. But I was like, I don't know how this is going to go.
But what's interesting though is like, because for me, I wasn't sure, like I didn't know you guys. And so I thought, well, as someone who's been a part of the EV fandom, the online fandom for years, going back to the Yahoo groups, I know that all fans are not created equal. And, there are, some interesting folks in the mix. And so I'm like, I don't know what this mix is going to be. You know what I mean? Because there are some fans who are like, if you have any type of negative critique or anything, if you say anything other than they're awesome, then you're a hater, and it turns into something negative. And sometimes a critique is just room for improvement. And I think everyone here is we're open to each other's ideas, even if we don't all agree, but we can just have the discussion.
It's a safe space.
Right. Exactly. It's a safe space. We can agree to disagree.
Right.
About Dawn. No, I'm just kidding. But speaking of...
or the Born to Sing album cover.
Right.
Just...
And I think the Born to Sing album cover is probably my standout moment, just because like there was so much feedback regarding that album cover that I just didn't expect, because I never really thought about it like that. But do you gentlemen have any personal standout moments from the podcast so far?
Yes, I have one. One of the is it on the Funky Divas episode, the fan letter where the letter that she was talking about everyone's to blame for the demise of En Vogue, and I think we talked about that for quite some time. Was that the Funky Divas one?
It was the Funky Divas episode. Josh wasn't here. Was it that
Was
episode?
it DT's letter when he was going in on Terry?
Yes.
Oh, no, you were here, Josh.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
He went in on Terry.
And we were referencing that Terry did a podcast interview, and Matan had receipts. We had a dissertation.
I love all the girls. Doesn't sound like it. I love all their talents. I think each brought huge value to the group, but I think Dawn's perspective has been very misunderstood, and many key facts have gone undiscussed, including all the drama behind Terry and her actions after Funky Divas and leading into her solo project. Thanks again. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you,
Thanks,
DT.
for the very thorough email and the receipts. We love a good receipt.
And now, were they receipts, though, or were they your opinion, DT? Because let me jump in and just say, and I don't know why people do not get about this, okay, so Terry had a solo deal. Dawn also had a solo deal with Elektra, so I don't know how Terry turned her back on the group. The issue with Dawn that makes it different, which I don't know why people don't get this, is she somehow negotiated to have Elektra release her solo rights, and then signed a deal with Aftermath. And then
I think we're forgetting one thing, though.
Oh, what am I forgetting?
When it comes to renegotiations, in order to renegotiate, you have to have leverage, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to my boss and I'm saying I need more money, well, why should I pay you more money? You should pay me more money because I have these offers on the table and they're willing to pay me this much, and this much. This is what I'm worth. This is my leverage. And a lot of times, and I've heard of different artists who have been able to get bought out of their deals by another label. So if this person is willing to pay my old label to pay whatever I owe on my contract or whatever, then that's how you avoid a lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we don't have everyone unified to say, this company wants to give us X amount of dollars. So Elektra, what are you bringing to the table? Because we've got offers over here.
Well, it's interesting. I do like the perspective that you brought because I didn't think of it that way because that's not the way it was presented. The way Don tells the story is like they were really trying to sign with LaFace. So, okay, I do get the idea of leverage. That makes more sense than the way that she told it.
Baby, we went in. It was so funny.
That was funny for me.
Yeah. I guess all of my standout moments are, I guess it's more like a reference of moments where when we're just in conversation and then we can like laugh about how we implement moments into that conversation. For example, like, you know, we do make jokes about how Dawn blocked JP. I think it's so funny, like when we can find ways to like move that in there really quickly. Just because it kind of like it goes back to like acknowledging the rapport that we built, just being like super fans together or whatever. So those are always my standout moments because they're the most authentic and they're the most funny.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's every time somebody tells me I'm wrong about the Born to Sing album cover. Like, that's my fave. Like, because I'm gonna die on that hill. Like, I'm okay with that.
Josh, you had the most listener letters addressed you
because of that one
directly.
Comment. I don't understand, and I hope they keep coming in season 2 because I'll still be here to say it.
It's so fun. So, have your views on the group and its members, past or present, have they changed at all since joining the podcast? I will say that this podcast has allowed me room to be a little bit more gracious with En Vogue right now. They released a video this past week of like, oh, come behind the scenes with En Vogue, and like we were getting ready with them, and they were like, we do our makeup, just like kind of like getting ready with En Vogue. It was cool to watch just because of like we don't really see behind the scenes footage of En Vogue like in this era. So it was fun, but it's also kind of like, okay, let me be more gracious because it's like they don't have the budget that we want them to have. You know, they don't have the budget for like a whole team. So although I can still say that I want this for them, I can still be gracious and say, okay, well, it is what it is. So, I guess that's kind of like what I've learned, I guess. But like I said, I can be gracious just to know that, okay, they don't have the budget for all this glam like they used to, and this is what they can do. And it's kind of like, yeah, and we want all of our money to go to our bank accounts. I don't want to have to spend $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 on a glam team and then have to pay for them and their travel, because then I put some money out of my pocket. Mm-hmm. So I learned to be a little bit more gracious, although my shade will not stop. I can be more gracious in that area. I love your En Vogue. I do.
I will say I have definitely I came in with my faves, and I tend to play diplomatic most of the time, but I don't know. I feel like I've got a better appreciation of like the members that maybe I had written the narrative off for, like, so I'm not like, I think the shenanigans and the non-En Vogue Dawn drama is like always going to irritate me, but I really enjoyed the episode we did because it sort of gave more depth, and I think we were able to talk a little bit more about like the ins and outs of like Dawn's career in particular, and to give it context in a way that I think might explain why some of the things are the way they are. Because I think some people make these hot takes and, you know, we know the clickbait, we see the headline, we see the Instagram interview, and, you know, we like jump on that. But like everything is about it's like the span of a career, right? And so I just like those moments when we can talk in depth about those things give me better insight, and they make me appreciate all of the ladies more. So
I agree. I think having JP, Don's public defender, on the show, you know, I think that made me see some things in a different way, because I don't know if you know my YouTube tag, but like not so much recently, but back in the day, like I was brutal, you know, people who disagree with me, and like if it was like, you know, somebody said anything kind of sideways about Rona, or, you know, like like if you know the tag, you know the tag. But it's kind of different, like when you're actually interacting with someone who has a different opinion and you have a respect for that person, you know who that person is, and, you know, JP gives very good reasoning, very good examples. And so it's like, okay, well, maybe Dawn, you know, maybe he has a point. Maybe Dawn wasn't just totally off her rocker. Maybe she just wasn't totally being selfish. You know, maybe there was a method to her madness. It was madness, but maybe there was a method to it. So,
yes. I think it's important, you know, as hosts and even as listeners, that, you know, we love these artists. You know, we have such a respect for them and admiration, and we're inspired by their work and what they do and how they, you know, contribute to the culture. But we also recognize that they're still human beings. You know, they're not faultless. They'll make mistakes. You know, we don't know what they were going through at the time. So I feel like, you know, our job on this podcast is to pick things apart. It's to, you know, that's our job. You know, it's our job to kind of like, oh, well, what about this? At the same time, it doesn't take away the respect we have for them, the admiration we have for them, and to still recognize that all these women, whether together or apart, are still iconic, and we love them for that. You know, I have the same view as Dawn. Like, you know, I'd be like, oh, here comes JP. What you got to say about Dawn? You know, but the points are valid, and it does make me look at certain situations in a different way. And regardless of, and I am a naturally shady person. I just have a slick mouth. I can't help it, you know, but I still respect and I recognize that she is that girl. She is amazingly talented. I want to see her win still to this day. And I'm optimistic that we will see, you know, her slay as a solo artist, in some capacity, you know, but I feel like we still are gracious enough to be like, they're human and these things happen, and there's still love there despite the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Also, we give Rona all the love too, which is wonderful.
I agree with everything. The reason I think we're able to do this podcast and still have so much to talk about to have another season is because the ladies are still active currently. So we're not just talking about, remember what they did in 1992. You know, we're talking about, you know, current things that they have going on. And so I think I have a greater appreciation for Terry and Cindy for continuing with the legacy and, you know, doing what they have to do to, I mean, not only for themselves to, you know, so they can eat and take care of themselves and their families, but, you know, to also continue with the legacy and the brand of En Vogue.
Well said. Now we have a surprise for our listeners. One of our sources close to En Vogue reached out to us about premiering a brand new remix to one of En Vogue's songs. The song,
Ooh.
1,000 Times. Our source? Well, we're not at liberty to disclose who our anonymous benefactor is. Still, we'd like to thank them for thinking of us and allowing us to premiere this track on our podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So without further ado, we give you the world premiere of the remix to 1,000 Times.
the chance to tell you how I feel. Things been changing frequently. I'm sorry if you think I tried to mislead you. Couldn't be further from the truth. Whoa, if you love me like you say you do, you better believe that I could forgive you for the things you do 1,000 times. People do the things they do. There's always more to the truth. So many times I tried to tell you, but I gave in to all my fears in my mind. Never meant to hurt you, wanted to protect you, didn't mean to start a fight. All I did was cause you to lose faith in me. Now it's time to make it right. Oh, if you love me like you say that you do, baby, you better believe that I could forgive you for the things you do 1,000 times. When you let go, you can love again. No more hurt, no more heartache, no resentment, no more bitterness, no more pain, just love. Oh, 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 if you love me like all you say you do, you better believe that I could forgive you for the things you do 1,000 times. If you love me like you say that you do, you better believe that I could forgive you for all those things that you do 1,000 times. If you love me like you say that you do, you better believe that I could forgive you for those things you do, 1,000 times.
Yay!
Come through, remix.
Come through, benefactor.
Yes, a wealthy benefactor bankrolling the whole project.
We also the Big Papa.
So, folks, what are y'all's thoughts on the remix? Do you prefer the original or the remix? Give me your thoughts. I want to hear.
So let me say this. I always loved that song, honestly, when I first heard it on the Christmas movie, right? And I liked it then, and then they released a version on iTunes that it sounded different from the version that I had originally heard. But But I like this one a lot more. It has more of an R&B feel. It's like a nice kind of, more soulful version. I think Rona sounds great. And I like the fact that, there's only one person singing.
Yes.
Because I hate the feeling of y'all trying to get everybody apart on a song when sometimes if one person has got it covered, let them ride it out. Let them handle that. And Rona does a great job on it. I enjoy it. I like the remix a lot better than the original.
I actually love the remix because I feel like the music translates well to like a live performance. It sounds full. Like if you put like a live band on it, I feel like it'll knock on a different level. And I love En Vogue Christmas. Like I watched that movie this past Christmas. I think it's so cute. But no, I'm a fan of the remix for sure. Even though I wasn't looking forward to remixes. But I do love a good remix. I'm not even gonna lie.
So wait, I just want to know, like, what is this remix for? Is it going to be a part of another project? Is it a standalone situation?
That's what I want to know.
We shall see.
Questions that need answers. And
so, Benefactor, we need some more info.
I also really like the remix. I thought it was like, I think Champ, you just said, and I think we had mentioned this before, it sounds fuller. There are two different listening experiences, because I think the original is like interesting in a different kind of way. It's like kind of got that sparing, like kind of instrumentation thing. It's like, I don't know, it's a different kind of listen. This feels more like a little bit more radio friendly. It's got more of a vibey kind of sound to it. Like it feels like it feels much more like nowish to me. So like I kind of like both, but I think that the remix is just a fuller, more like rich kind of sound.
Right.
One thing that I can say though, there is like a little baby crying in the background or something in the remix. I could do without. I mean, it's a little off-putting in the beginning for me. You know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a sound. It's a sound that's a bit, it throws me off a little bit in the beginning before they get into it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like on the Aaliyah song.
That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, it's also, there's a baby on Rocket too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is. There is.
It's a motif.
It's a baby giggling in the background.
Well, it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, we love when these kinds of things land on our plates, right? Like, this is like
sure.
Being able to premiere something on here, and season 1 of a podcast run by fans is kind of dope, So the track will be available on all streaming platforms. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again to our glorious benefactor.
Yes.
So our plans for the future. This is the final episode for season 1. And season 2 is coming very soon. What are some things you guys want to see as far as interviews goes? Hopefully we'll get some En Vogue members, some En Vogue creatives that work with the group to come on here. What are some questions you would love to ask En Vogue or Frank Gatson or, Foster McGowan?
Oh my God, just the questions will be endless. I could just ask them about the most mundane things, like just to get into the minutia of everything. Like,
right.
I would ask Frank Gatson about the whatever choreography in particular. That's probably my favorite piece he did. And I heard, or maybe it was him who said that Lorianne Gibson Boomcat was, I guess, maybe the assistant choreographer or something. Like, do you have the full choreography? I could ask probably 1,000 questions about that video, the whatever video, just alone.
Yes.
And so anyone who was involved in that video in any way, like I would have 1,000 questions for that person, whether it be a member of the group, whether it be Troy Jensen if he did the makeup, Matthew Ralston, Frank Gatson, The Grip, whoever did the craft services table. Because it's just, I love that video. And at first when I was little and it was out, and I know a lot of people didn't like it. It was off-putting for like the R&B audience, for the BET audience. And now I just love it. And it's like I have to stop myself from watching it so I can appreciate it. Like when I do watch it and just watch it back to back to back to just look for things and look at the, the way the outfits fit on their bodies and the way they're moving. So it will be like My questions would just be very, very, very specific. So,
but that's the thing when fans ask questions. Like, I hate when I watch an interview from an artist that I've been knowing for years and they always get asked the same questions. I feel like as fans, we have very detailed things we want to know. Like, back in 1996, you had said, you know, and you know, and you looked at her funny, and I wanted to know, like, what were you thinking in that moment? Like, we have very specific questions that we want the details on. Like, for me, I personally would love to interview Maxine. I feel like she is the one member of En Vogue who has not spoken as much. And I just have some, you know, the questions that we've talked about it throughout the season, but a lot about her aesthetic and being very groundbreaking and her approach with her natural hair, her body type and those things. Also, I want to know about her voice and kind of how she feels, like what does she feel she brings to the table and all of those stuff. Like she's like the number one person I really, really, really would like to talk to.
I would love to talk to Foster McGilroy, just like, why a girl group? Like, what inspired you guys to start En Vogue, you know? And I want to know, I just feel like I don't know much about them outside of, you know, us, outside of, you know, them being the masterminds behind En Vogue. Like, what were you guys doing beforehand? Like, you know, what was your goals and what was your plans in the industry? Like, was this always the plan to do this? Like, I just kind of want to get to know them more. What are they doing now? You know, but mainly by the like what was the inspiration behind, you know, creating this girl group? You know, and why you go from 3 to 4? You know, what was it like? Specifically, I'm like, what were y'all's notes to each other when the girls were auditioning? Like, what was it about Dawn? Why was Terry's audition so amazing that you had to make the group a foursome and not a threesome? Like, you know, like, I don't know those things. I would love to hear.
I would also want to ask them, like, what would they have done different? Like, hindsight is 20/20, right? So what would you have done differently in terms of anything, like a song? Because I hear a lot of producers, like I've listened to a couple of Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis interviews and podcast interviews, and they talk about how they don't like listening to certain songs because they always feel like, oh, I would have changed that, or I would have done this, I would have added this. So I wonder, like, what are some of those things they would have maybe done differently from a production standpoint, a songwriting standpoint, or, you know, anything.
And a more specific question, another specific question, I would love to ask either anybody, Frank Gasson, En Vogue, like, what were some barriers that you had to kind of push through being a Black female group and in that time period and trying to push you to become mainstream? Like, what, or just being unapologetically Black women, Maxine in particular being, like, you know, natural with her fro and her braids, that kind of thing. Like, I'm like, what were some barriers that we probably don't know about that you had to deal with without, you know, incriminating yourself or without, you know, hashing up old drama? Like, what are some things that you can tell us, you know, and not just the Luther Vandross or maybe.
I want to know so much. And
also more exclusives with things like the 1,000 Times remix. Give us some more exclusives. What are you guys doing?
I agree. And I really, 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 like, the number one question is what happened to Max's face on the Masterpiece Theater album? Like,
questions that need answers.
Like, you could put that on my tombstone because I wonder, where did it all go wrong? And I feel like we could candidly talk about that I feel like that's something that at this point, like, folks have to have a sense of humor about, I would imagine. And so, like, I just want I want it from Max herself.
Yes,
like,
how
girl, pissed were you when you saw that? Because I'm pissed for you. And,
I would never forget going into the music store, because we had those back in the day, the music stores, and seeing that CD and going, who the hell is this? Where's Maxine? I was like, who is this lady? Because that's not Maxine.
So we definitely need to talk to Maxine about that. I think that, like, if she has any interviews and someone does not ask about that, like, what are you doing? How could you not ask about that if you know anything about En Vogue? Because it really is a mystery. Like, to me, and it's not even so much the Masterpiece Theater cover, it is the Riddle single cover for me. It's like, okay, what was it? Because was it shit? Like, what was going? Like, how did she look that different?
Like, was she busy that day and they got a stand-in?
Right. Yeah, I would want to know. Of course, respectfully, she doesn't want to talk about it. Anyone, if they don't want to talk about anything, believe me, I have an arsenal of other questions I can ask you. But that is a mystery to me. Like, how do you look so much different? Like, we talked about the emancipation of Mimi Remarque. Like, you can kind of see, like, okay, you know, a lot was done, but it still looks like Mariah. So,
yeah, questions that need answers. Absolutely. I also really, really like, I love when people ask questions about like rare tracks or B-sides or favorite like album tracks or album cuts that weren't singles. Like, I just want to sort of like explore that with any and all of the members, or even like with like production or musicians or whomever. I just want to sort of talk about the songs that don't get the love
we could go
that they deserve.
Our interview would be so good.
I also would love to ask, like, who were some artists that they might have wanted to collaborate with but it never transpired. You know, maybe scheduling conflicts. Maybe there was a deadline that couldn't be met. Maybe the label didn't see it for them. You know, but I would love to see, like, who were some people that y'all wanted to collaborate with at the time, but probably never got the opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm. There's so much. Like, I just feel like if we can get someone on the show, it's going to be a great interview because, you know, we are true fans. That we're not going to ask about, you know, did you really meet at an audition?
Right. Tell us, how did En Vogue get together?
Right. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be great. So come on the show.
Can y'all imagine if we had the ladies on here and the first question was, so tell us, how did En Vogue get started?
Or then that question they always ask, what do you think about the music industry now? Like, why don't you think there's any more groups? Like, who cares? We want to talk about En Vogue. So definitely we'll give a good interview, and we want interviews and we want exclusives.
In conclusion, for me, I'm just looking forward to reporting some amazing opportunities for En Vogue for season 3. I mean, for season 2, maybe season 3, whatever have you. Like, I'm looking forward to just being like, oh my God, En Vogue is doing this. En Vogue is doing that. Like, I'm looking forward to that because I love ladies, and I feel like there's a whole new era for them as a group and individually. So,
what do you guys think about potentially having any guest hosts to come on with us?
I am in favor of that. If we, of course, like with any group situation, there has to be chemistry. Just from some of the letters though that we've gotten and some of the comments, like Romello, I think he will be a good guest host. He seems to be very knowledgeable, and he seems to be he likes like Amanda and Rona. So he's, you know, and he follows the group. He knows like very, you know, tracks that a lot of people wouldn't know. So I feel like he will be a good guest host. So if we have somebody, you know, who's fun and knows how to get well with others, you know, I think, you know, every now and then it'll be nice to have a guest host.
I'm kind of into that. I feel like almost like, you know, The View, right? Like, we are the staple four, but like life happens and sometimes one of us can't be on or whatever, and it'd be kind of cute to have somebody come in and like take the seat at the table and join in on the chat.
Just call me Wendy. So I'm not into Sherry Shepherd, okay?
How you doing?
And I was gonna say, I think it would be dope if we had like a special celebrity guest host, you know? Like, you know, Mr. Frank Gatson has lots to say. He gives good talk, you know? That would be fun.
Or like a a famous or celebrity guest host who's like an En Vogue super fan too. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe not somebody who's like like the interviews can be people who are like, we can go in depth with around like En Vogue and all things music and such. But like, it'd be cool to have somebody who like is a super fan on the low who wants to come in and like walk through all of the sort of parts of the episode.
Yes.
Let's try to get her on the show.
Yes. I love me some Holly Robinson Pete.
I do too.
But can you imagine Holly Robinson Pete like actually a member of En Vogue? That would have been cute in the 90s, you know? When Dawn left and brought in Holly Robinson Pete, that would have been cute. You know, she's beautiful and she got a little, you know, she can hold a note.
Champ, do you want to guest co-host?
No, I think it is a cool idea to have like, you know, listeners come in to kind of contribute. That would be cool.
Romello, Ricardo, and DT. I don't know about you, DT, because you was going a little too hard on Terry, but Ricardo, Romello. I even think, who was it? Justice Jackson from Iowa. You know, it'll be fun to, you know, get in a ring with them and see how they throw down. So do we have hopes for En Vogue's future? Of course we do. Of course we do. New music. Absolutely, I want new music. Like, I will say this 1,000 times. I really want them to have a comeback. You know, maybe that's, you know, a pipe dream, but it is my dream. You know, make music that you want to promote and, you know, how you're going to promote it. So for me, absolutely. I know we all want new music, right? No one doesn't.
I'm actually very optimistic for new music. I think that I continue to say that this lineup of En Vogue, they need their own catalog that people get excited to hear. Most people who know of En Vogue get excited for their old catalog with the original four. But this current lineup with Cindy, Rona, and Terry, they don't have, besides Rocket, they don't have a lot of hits that are recognizable or that really, get audiences excited the way they will if Don't Let Go came on or My Lovin' came on or Free Your Mind came on. So I do want this current lineup to get, 3 more songs where it's kind of like, yes, this era, these 3, I love that song by this En Vogue. And I think that perhaps more fans would be a little more accepting of this lineup and stop saying, where's the original 4 at? They're gone, baby. They're gone. But I feel like if they have some good songs that we can bop to, more people would be accepting of this lineup En Vogue, even though it's been over 15 years. But I digress.
I really would love some new music, but I also don't feel a need to rush new music. I want them to take their time and explore. I think we said this on like maybe the first episode. It was like hang out and sort of like vibe and figure out what works and what sounds good and like let it feel organic versus like we need to do this by this date, by whatever. I would love that. And then I also just like, there's Rocket. If Rocket was an indication, they got it in them to bring it back to the charts. And the same way that we see like, yes, Charlie Wilson is number 1 on the R&B charts every year for some song, and Let Us See just went independent and got her number 1 on the R&B adult R&B charts, and like Toni Braxton. So like, it's just like I know with the right song and with the right everything they can make it work. I also, it's probably not going to happen, but I would just love if Max would just hop back in for a second. Just for a second. Just for like a couple shows or something. So that would make me happy, but we'll see. You know what?
I look at when I think of like a possible reunion in some form or fashion, I kind of look at En Vogue as like, them just being sisters, who had a falling out, who had a disagreement, and they just kind of go their separate ways. But it's kind of like, when Christmas rolled around, when Thanksgiving come around, you come out to the dinner table and none of that stuff doesn't matter for at least the duration of dinner. You know what I mean? So I feel like, for example, I feel like there are a lot of entities and award shows or what have you that need to do like an En Vogue tribute. I think that should happen.
Soul Train. Because if you can honor Ashanti, then certainly
you can honor En
certainly.
Vogue.
Soul Train honored Ashanti?
Yes, this year Ashanti was the Lady of Soul, whatever. It's like she got up and did a performance of her hits, and I'm like, I mean, that's cute, but
still, it's kind of like you're honoring Ashanti, and there's so many other women that you could honor before her. I mean, and that you still can honor today, you know, because plus En Vogue has so many iconic performances that happen on Soul Train that it's like, why wouldn't you bring them back to do a tribute for them? And I think there's so many like up and coming newer artists that would jump at the opportunity to tribute En Vogue. But I will say that when, I forgot where it happened, but when Destiny's Child got a tribute for them, and it was A. Marie and
Rihanna,
you know,
Tierra Marie.
Exactly. And then the other people, like, when they did that tribute to Destiny's Child, I thought that it was so trash that LaToya and Latavia were not there. Obviously, I understand the circumstances, but at the end of the day, they were in that group since they were teenagers. And so if you're going to honor Destiny's Child's legacy, you have to honor all facets. So if there is an En Vogue tribute, I feel like all members should be present.
absolutely.
Regardless of who's in the lineup right now. Because it's like, why would you have a tribute and Dawn and Maxine aren't present? So I think that if there's a tribute, they all should be there, hopefully. But I guess that's my hope for the future, that one of these entities, Soul Train, whatever have you, BT, would do an En Vogue tribute, and it will be done the right way with the right performances, and that all members are present.
And that opportunity like kickstarts them into a new era of something. Like, and that could be with all of them, or that could be like they came here for this thing and then now capitalize like all these other folks do. Like, get your tour, get your record, get your, you know, whatever.
Well, here's my thing. It's just that I feel like there needs to be more planning on their part. Maybe they need a better team, because so many reunions have happened and it just kind of seems like they were rushed instead of thinking, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to release this song. It just seemed like the reunions were, what is that word? When they just
haphazard.
Okay, that works too. Like with the Alicia Keys tribute, it's like, okay, well, Alicia Keys asked us, oh, Don said she'll do it. Okay, well, let's do some shows. With the Salt and Pepper like around 2005 when they did VH1 Hip Hop Honors. Okay, Don agreed to do it. Okay, we're going to have a reunion. Let's try to do some shows. Instead of saying, okay, we need to sit down and talk. We need the business together. We want to have at least one new song with, you know, well, now it'll be 5. I know some people might not want the 5, but it is what it is. Do it that way first. And, like, not just have, oh, Sylvie Rowan invited us. Oh, Donna Maxine agreed. Okay. And then, like, no, like, let it be you who initiates the action. Don't let it be reactionary to what's happening. I think that's the only way that'll work. All the other times it hasn't, because they haven't really sat and communicated and have all the contracts. So like, Don, no, you can't leave after 3 shows. You have to do 10. Okay. And we're gonna.
You got to see it through. You have an end date to this contract.
Exactly, and so it's not like you guys are just, you know, trying to catch a train or something. You're running behind it. Like, you be the drivers of the train. If they're
I love that, Matan. Be the drivers of the train.
Reevaluating your circle and your team to say, okay, we want to do something new, but perhaps where we want to go, maybe the person that we have doing this specific thing probably isn't the best, you know. For example, like, obviously Michael Mann was, God rest his soul, he wasn't old enough, you know, or in his prime to style En Vogue when they did the 20th anniversary, obviously, you know, but he came at the right time when they did the Rocket era. So I feel like, okay, it's like, okay, En Vogue, we're trying to do something new, something different. It's like, well, who do we usually go to? Can we trust them to take us somewhere new, you know? Or interview people to say, oh, we like him and we like her. If we put them together, that'll be gold. Or we like this producer and we like this, you know, this coordinator for this and this stylist here. It's like we're trying to go to new eras. Let's reevaluate our team. Can they do the job? And if not, it's okay to say, well, we're going to go in a different direction, because at the end of the day, the brand is what matters most. Well, so now we are going to transition into our favorite part of the podcast, which is our listener letters. If you'd like to get in touch, send us an email at partofusevf@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram and we'll read it on an upcoming episode.
And our first email is from Daryl. And when I was little, I had a friend named Daryl. I hope he's doing okay. I don't know what happened to Daryl. I think he moved back to New York City. I've never seen him since. So, but anyway, this Daryl is, his email says, "Hi all, thanks for the always entertaining podcast. I always look forward to it. Oh, I wonder what you think about an unplugged album or a covers album that I believe was once said to have been in the works. Also, I didn't know about Rona's recent interview. I hope they'll release something new soon. Totally agree when one of you mentioned the Shindellas. Well, that wasn't me. I think En Vogue should have tried that direction musically. It would fit them. Keep up the great work, Daryl."
I will say this. I think you should listen to their most recent album. Listen to it all the way through, or at least get to like track 5. And then you can kind of like try to connect it with like a new sound for En Vogue. Because they do have some songs that's kind of like, oh wow, like whoever's producing them should produce some songs for En Vogue.
Claude Kelly.
Yeah, Claude Kelly. He does amazing with them. And I think he would be great for En Vogue as well. Thank you, Daryl, for listening, for sure.
And I do, wait. Now, Unplugged album, covers album, Unplugged, yes. But Dawn, interestingly, I was watching, because she has thousands, I'm not even trying to be funny, this is not shade, but she has a lot of Instagram live videos that are now being posted to YouTube. I'm not on Instagram, so I didn't see a lot of stuff. So when I see something, I'm like, let me just click. I'll click through. She's not giving me anything. But one thing she said that was interesting was that Sony Records wanted to give them a deal when it was the original for, I guess, probably back in like the early 2010s. But the reason she didn't like the Sony deal was because it was they wanted a covers album. So her thing was kind of like, covers album, that's like would you get, and she said this is not me saying, she was like, would you get Destiny's Child to do a covers album?
But you know what, that makes sense to me a little bit, because who was it, let me double check this, but I think it was Boys to Men. They, I believe,
yes, they did a covers album,
like the early 2000s,
and it revitalized their career.
Right. I'm trying to see what label it was on, but yeah, I think that at that time it was definitely like a thing for, if you're gonna come back or resurrect some a group or something, give them a covers album. Yeah,
I mean they did it. I don't think they actually did a couple. They did like 2 covers albums. They did a album in 2004 called Throwback, where that was the first one. And then they did another covers album in 2017. But because of those covers albums, they were able to have residencies in Vegas. Like, it really ended up like giving them, like a boost in their career. Like, it's one thing to be known in the 90s as a successful R&B group, but I think singing some of those classic songs, it kept them booked and busy.
Well, I know a lot of fans have songs that they would love to hear them cover. And I remember the episode I wasn't on, a fan asked you guys what songs you would like En Vogue to cover. So I think you guys would be in favor of it. I kind of agree with Don. If they were to do that, my thing is, like, you can't do the Emotions, you can't do the Jones Girls. For me, like, En Vogue is supposed to have so they would have to come out totally left field and maybe do like rock covers or something, but that's my opinion.
Why? I would love to hear En Vogue do the Jones Girls and the Emotions, the Pointer Sisters. I just think the production can't be cheesy. I think on a lot of covers, the production is kind of karaoke. So as long as like the production is there, like I think about Escape when they did Who Can I Run To? Like, the production was top notch. Like, Jermaine Dupri did a good job of like making it, sound relevant and current. And they got a big hit. They got one of their most popular hits from it.
I actually think that they should combine the ideas and do an unplugged album of covers, because I think that like a tribute show of them doing like iconic girl group songs, like I just think that like I want to hear them do the Jones Girls, but maybe I think doing it live with a really amazing band would be really more moving to me than hearing them do it like squeaky clean on like their record.
And then imagine like all of the guests they could have, you know, be a part of that whole thing. I think it'd be cool to do it like an unplugged with Best of En Vogue that also includes covers, like, you know, kind of like how they do when they do their concerts and their tours. They do covers, you know, with their music. So I think it'd be cool to, like, you know, give us that En Vogue live experience on an album that's unplugged, and then bring in some, you know, some cool people, like get Jasmine Sullivan to come sing a song with y'all, you know, get Amber Riley, you know, maybe Cynthia Erivo, you know what I mean? Maybe Holly Robinson P can make a little cameo and she can be a part of En Vogue. You know, like if there's some cool little ideas that
is a cast of characters you just named.
I mean, but that's what makes that idea intriguing. Like, that's a lot of people. And you know, so I feel like it'll be cool if that did happen. I'm here for that.
That's why I love talking to you guys, because you guys make me see things totally differently. And I'm thinking about when Mariah did her Unplugged, she did "I'll Be There," which of course we all know is a cover of the Jackson 5, and she had Trey Lorenz, you know, sing Jermaine's part. So I'm saying it. I mean, I would love an Unplugged. I think that's what I said on the first episode. I would love an Unplugged, and I think most people on Unplugged do covers, like Nirvana's Unplugged. They did "The Man Who Sold the World" by David Bowie, and I think when Eric Clapton did his, and I think he probably has the best selling of all time, he had that new song. Well, it was new at the time, "Tears in Heaven," when his son passed away. So it would be great if they could have like a new song, you know, new En Vogue kind of acoustic song. They do their old stuff acoustic and have some covers. I just know that when, like, if a girl group covers a girl group, they might not have that moment of transcendence. Maybe they will, but I'm just thinking of if they like did Depeche Mode, "Shake the Disease," that would, like, because like no one probably, that's not a really popular song, so they could kind of make it theirs. Whereas if they did "Jay, Don't Walk Away," I just think, like, if it's a known song, you know, there's going to be a competition and the comparisons, fans are going to be tearing it apart.
Yeah. I think certain songs are typical. Like, if you're going to do, if they were to do a covers album, I would want them to do songs that are not like the biggest hits from you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do like those hidden gems, those, you know, those songs that haven't been redone 100 times already.
Covers albums feel sometimes, when they're not done right, they feel like, do y'all ever watch Mad TV? Like, when they used to do like the parodies of people, like the Whitney parody, and they would do like the fake songs that she would be singing. Shout out to Deborah Wilson. But that's what it felt like. The Aretha one, I was like, is this a joke? I was like, is this for real? Because it just was it was so campy that I was just like, okay, this is a choice. Like, I guess, girl. But like,
so thank you, Daryl, for your letter.
Thank you, Daryl.
The next letter, well, it's a DM on Twitter from Simone. Hi, Simone. Thanks for listening. Her question is, what reality show would you like to see En Vogue guest on? Mine is RuPaul's Drag Race. Love your face. So one, I actually was thinking about why En Vogue has not guest starred on Drag Race, because this past season they just did a whole girl group Supreme tribute. I think 2 episodes ago. So I'm like, yeah, have En Vogue, you know, guest star on Drag Race. I also would love to see En Vogue on, dang, I just had a brain fart. It'll come back to me. What do you guys think? What shows do you want to see them on?
I really, 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 really do love the idea of RuPaul's Drag Race, because RuPaul's Drag Race and RuPaul in general has a real affinity for bringing in like folks who maybe are not super, super mainstream, top of the charts, top of everything. Like, I think about how RuPaul to this day will bring LaToya Jackson on and bring some of these folks who I think like there's something there to be enjoyed by the masses. And so I think RuPaul's really like that kind of like got that finger on the sort of like pop culture kind of pulse. And so I think it's a perfect thing. They do girl group challenges all the time on Drag Race. They just did one a couple episodes ago. It would make so much sense. And I can't remember if they've done a lot of, or if they've done any En Vogue songs on Drag Race, but I just think it would be
they've done My Lovin' and Free Your Mind.
and they did What a Man, because Trinity did the hell out of that. And so, yeah, like, it would be so cool, the same way that I think Natalie Cole got to watch, somebody do her song. Like, I just think it would be so good.
For your life. This will be an everlasting. And
I would love to see
iconic.
Them guest star on Legendary on HBO Max, the Vogue show.
Oh, yeah.
I love to see them on there just because it's a younger audience. I also would love to see, like, the girls maybe even individually be one of the panel judges on any of these competition shows. Like, I don't know if you guys remember when Baby Spice and Sean from Boyz II Men, they were panelists on, and Nick Carter, it was a show. It was, on Boy Band. And I thought that's like a cool little thing. So, but just kind of saying like how like there's so many iterations of like X Factor, America's Got Talent, like in the UK, in Russia, Germany, and Japan. Like, there's so many iterations, but they do bring in stars from out of the country. So I definitely would be here for Terry or Cindy or even Rona, like, being guest judges, or even like being like permanent judges on like a competition show in any capacity. Like, I think they would be great judges for sure.
Well, to Simone's point, Rue knows En Vogue. I remember they were on one of his Christmas specials. They sent in like, video from their tour bus, and then they were tour bus. And on the actual, when he had the talk show on VH1, they were on there. So is it shade that he has not had them on the show yet, Rue? Because I know Rue is a Scorpio like me. So did something happen? Because it really, it makes no sense that they haven't been on the show. The Pointer Sisters haven't been on the show. Like, who hasn't been a guest judge? His audience.
I feel like the budget went up, and then the talent. And at this point, their show has won so many Emmys. They can ask pretty much anyone.
Streep will come on.
And it seems like they're going for a younger audience, to be honest. So they've got Nicki Minaj, Lizzo, Christina Aguilera. So Gaga. Back in the days when they used to put LaToya Jackson on when they were on Logo.
Rue, put En Vogue on the show.
And all the queens are under 30, so.
Rue, put them on the show.
So next we have an international letter. So we have an email from Connor in Glasgow, Scotland. Connor says, I was watching random videos of En Vogue on YouTube, and I realized that they only promoted Electric Cafe on one show, the Wendy Williams show. I don't know how many units they sold of Electric Cafe, but probably not very many. I don't mean that disparagingly. I just can't imagine it selling well with the lack of marketing behind it. Do you think they screwed themselves by not doing more promotion for that album? Why do you think they didn't do the late night talk show circuit? Thanks, Connor. I have lots of opinions.
Potential guest host, Connor. I like your get down. I liked how you asked that.
Well, let's be very clear though, y'all. The reason that they didn't get to do more promotion is because it's not because they didn't want to. They would have been anywhere.
You can't just walk up to the, Conan O'Brien and be like, let us in to talk about our album.
Right.
Well, my thinking is, we talked about the teams and Champ, I believe it was you who was saying, if someone can't do this, I think their publicist, you don't understand social media, you don't understand like what people want to see, like a People magazine cover shoot, like we don't, maybe some people like a People magazine cover shoot, but then the way they looked in the magazine, like I went out and bought it. So when I saw the pictures, I was like, is the photographer trying to make them look bad? Like, I was just so upset with that. And so when you are using like the old school marketing tools and the old school marketing things, like it's not going to have a reach. So going on the radio, to the state, well, I get why you go on the radio because you want WBLS to play your stuff. But a lot of the stuff that they did, like the Apple Store, none of that to me was good. And then by the time they got on Wendy Williams, to me, it looked like, they weren't prepared. It looked like, they looked all fresh faced, like for radio, but then when they got on Wendy, like it looked like the makeup, the hair, like it looked like, I just think like the marketing was all wrong. I feel like they still don't know how to use social media. I feel like they could do their own reaction videos that would get more views than the stuff that they post. I feel like they could, outreach a little bit more. They could have throwbacks. There's just so much that they can do. So specifically for that album, pushing it back a week when for all the time it was supposed to come out, I think in like March, then it comes out. You push it back a week later. You go on only on one TV show. You do all this radio. You do all this print stuff that nobody reads anymore.
I think it's the whole team though. Listen, at the end of the day, even with the best publicists in the world, if people are not excited about what you're doing, you're not, the booking people over at Ellen and the Tonight Show or wherever else, like, they're not going to be that excited to book you if there's no, general interest. You know what I mean?
And that's how you use social media. It's free. Like, I'm telling you, like, if they, with Rocket, like, if they had harmonized it, like, did an acapella or something on their own social media and it went viral, because a lot of the time when they do those little snippets with the young girls, like, that gets, like, 47,000 views and...
And also it's the consistency. Like I see like the ladies like on the En Vogue site, like they'll do certain things every now and then, but there's not a consistent effort. If you look at people like Cardi B and people like, Summer Walker and, Nicki Minaj, the girls who are really doing it on social media, it's a 24/7 job. You have to be on it. You have to be consistently posting, engaging, constantly putting stuff out there, constantly interacting with the blogs and, the people who have the pulse on the audience that you're trying to target. And they don't consistently do that enough. You know what I mean? Like putting out a video like they did regarding like, this is how we get ready for our show. Like that's nice, but y'all probably won't post anything for the next 4 weeks. So... you have to have some type of consistency with social media to gain attraction, to gain the audience.
Well, I will say that I didn't even realize that they only promoted it on one show. I didn't realize that until Connor brought it up. So that is horrible, first of all. Horrible to do when you're promoting an entire album that we've been waiting, 14 years to get? That's horrible choice. And go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
To the social media point, I don't think people realize that what people are doing now is they're like taking 2 or 3 days and they're just like recording content for days. Right. Mm-hmm. There's the, what piece is that? What is that?
This is People. Let me turn the light off so you can see. But, like, you can't see.
Oh, I remember that shoot. I remember that shoot.
How can they do them like that? That's messed up.
But, like, it was interesting. I was maybe, in all honesty, like, I was surprised they got as much coverage as they did. Because I think, like, E1 sometimes, like, I see artists come through E1, especially a lot of, like, there's a lot of interesting people that get signed to E1, like, and sometimes they don't get the coverage that they even got. Like, so I don't know, but I think to y'all's point, like, they're still freaking En Vogue. They should have been able to, just off of that alone, been able to like book I would have been anywhere that they would have took me on every television show that they would book me on.
I just want to point out that the original 4 were booked and busy. The original 4 were on The View. They were on the Trumpet Awards. They were on Jet Magazine. Hype
But there was no music, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, it has to...
But I just think that... I don't think the current lineup is going to be something that is going to generate the same amount of interest. You know what I'm saying? Because I think at the end of the day, the people have to want to book you. Like, what is the draw? What is the catch? What is the wow factor?
So I will say that, one, I'm curious to know what En Vogue where En Vogue sees themselves in today's current industry. Like, are they just content with, popping up here and there while doing shows and that's it? But I feel like if they are interested in like a new era as this current trio, it's like, who on your team is a social media manager? Or do you even have a social media manager? Because right now, social media is the cream of the crop to build and continue a brand. One thing I will say is that Rona needs to bring her butt to LA for a week, and they need to do a social media content shoot for about 3 or 4 days. I'm talking about photo shoots, TikTok videos, Instagram videos, musical covers, etc., etc. I don't know what that budget's going to look like, but I feel like they need to get a budget to do to for a whole week. Just do like a whole shoot for all social media content, and even have a meeting with their label, their creative team, and the social media manager to say, okay, well, where do we see ourselves on social media? Like what brand, what category do we want to dominate on social media? You know, on TikTok has gay TikTok, you have clean talk, you have mom talk, you have black TikTok, you have, women TikTok, you got makeup TikTok, like, you know what I mean? It's all different subgenres within TikTok. It's like, what do you want to take advantage of? Like, what do you need to do? But I feel like there's a whole market of social media that they're not utilizing and taking advantage of, especially with them being these glamazons, these trendsetters, these statuesque, iconic women in the culture. It's like, it's no reason like y'all shouldn't be posting, beauty shots and fashion shots every week.
So we have a letter from Brian Wilson on YouTube in response to our album covers episode. I love Dawn's album cover. The boobs are boobing, but her being off-centered was awesome. I may be thinking more into it than what was intended, but I looked to it as a focus on her being solo. The negative space was to signify the spots left for Terry, Max, and Cindy, but they are not there. Dawn is solo.
No, I was so impressed with Josh and Champ. They went deep, and I like how people can look at things figuratively and metaphysically and look at all these layers and, because, I mean, that's what a lot of academia is. It's, looking beyond what's there. So they did a really great job of that. And to Mr. Wilson's point, maybe that is what it is. Who knows?
Well, folks, that is the end of our season finale. So,
oh my God! Season 1 down, and we're already renewed.
Right?
Uh-huh.
We renewed our damn selves. We ain't gotta wait for nobody. So y'all, listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, listen to us. And reminder to our listeners to please email us any En Vogue footage that you might have. Go dig up those VHS tapes. We want the footage. We will host it on our YouTube channel, En Vogue Craze. For more En Vogue related content, find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at En Vogue Craze, or on Twitter at partofusfancast. Comments or questions can be sent to partofusevf@gmail.com. Thank you to my illustrious co-hosts. I am Josh, and you can find me on the internets at Josh Jinx. What about y'all?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Everybody Loves JP.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Champ Johnson.
You can find me on YouTube trolling and just being an evil person. I haven't posted any videos recently, but I promise you when the tour starts and I go to the show on May 27th at the Cryptocurrency Arena, I will have video footage of En Vogue, and maybe I'll have video footage of other acts too. So look for me on YouTube at Your Little Dog too.
Yes. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for reviewing and sharing your thoughts. And thanks for sharing the podcast all around. And we will see you next season.
Tell a friend.
Bye. Bye.
This episode of Part of Us at En Vogue Fancast was researched, written, produced, and edited by Matthew at Culture Inject Productions. The intro and outro music was produced by Wolves and Vincent Tone. We're more than just a podcast, we're a fan community. You can keep up to date on En Vogue and chat with other fans by visiting En Vogue Craze on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at En Vogue Craze and Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. Part of Us and En Vogue Fancast is not endorsed by En Vogue, E1 Music, or En Vogue Records, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. En Vogue and its names, images, and audio clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.